What happens when a century-old conflict refuses to find peace? The Israel-Palestine conflict, filled with deep-rooted history, continues to shape the Middle East. As Hamas and Israel clash, this ongoing battle brings both devastation and hope for a resolution, while the world watches in anticipation of peace. Historical background. The origins of the Israel-Palestine conflict can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, during a time of growing nationalism among both Jews and Arabs. Zionism, a movement aimed at establishing a Jewish homeland, began gaining momentum as Jews sought refuge from rising anti-Semitism in Europe. At the same time, Arab nationalism was also on the rise, with Arabs in Palestine and the surrounding regions seeking independence from Ottoman rule. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration issued by Britain expressed support for establishing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which was then under British mandate following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. This triggered increasing tension between Jewish immigrants and the Arab population living in the region. By 1947, the United Nations proposed the Partition Plan, which called for the division of Palestine into two separate states, one Jewish and one Arab. While Jewish leaders accepted the plan, Arab leaders rejected it, leading to the outbreak of violence. First Arab-Israeli War, 1948 to 1949. In 1948, Israel declared its independence, marking the birth of the modern Israeli state. This led to the First Arab-Israeli War, in which neighboring Arab states launched an attack on the newly established State of Israel. Israel not only survived, but expanded its territory beyond the UN-designated borders. The war also created a major humanitarian crisis, as approximately 700,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes, a period known to Palestinians as the Nakba. The refugee crisis continues to affect millions of Palestinians and remains a core issue in the ongoing conflict. Wars and occupation. In the years that followed, the Israel-Palestine conflict saw several key wars and military engagements that further complicated the situation. Six-Day War, 1967. This war resulted in Israel capturing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. This occupation of Palestinian territories is one of the primary drivers of the conflict today. Yom Kippur War, 1973. Egypt and Syria launched attacks on Israel to reclaim lost territories, but the war ended in a ceasefire, and tensions continued to simmer. Israel's settlement expansion in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which began after the Six-Day War, is considered illegal under international law and is seen as a key obstacle to achieving peace. The expansion of settlements continues to inflame tensions between Israelis and Palestinians. The rise of Palestinian nationalism and the PLO. In response to Israeli occupation, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, was established in 1964 to create an independent Palestinian state. Initially, the PLO engaged in an armed struggle against Israel, but later it shifted toward diplomatic efforts. The First Intifada, 1987 to 1993, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli rule in the occupied territories, drew international attention to the conflict and put pressure on both sides to engage in peace negotiations, peace efforts, and the Oslo Accords. One of the most significant attempts at resolving the conflict came with the Oslo Accords of 1993. This agreement between Israel and the PLO established the Palestinian Authority, PA, which was given limited autonomy in parts of the West Bank and Gaza. The accords laid the groundwork for a two-state solution, but final negotiations on the status of Jerusalem, borders, and refugees were left unresolved. The peace process stalled, leading to renewed violence. The rise of Hamas and the situation in Gaza. Hamas, an Islamist militant group, rose to power in the Gaza Strip following Israel's unilateral withdrawal in 2005. In 2007, after a brief civil conflict with Fatah, Hamas took full control of Gaza. Hamas is recognized by Israel, the United States, and the European Union as a terrorist organization due to its refusal to recognize Israel and its use of violent tactics, including rocket attacks and suicide bombings. The Gaza blockade, imposed by Israel and Egypt, has severely restricted the movement of goods and people in and out of Gaza. This has created a humanitarian crisis, with high unemployment, poor living conditions, and limited access to necessities. Hamas frequently launches rocket attacks on Israel, prompting retaliatory airstrikes. These cycles of violence often lead to civilian casualties and international condemnation. Ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel. The conflict between Hamas and Israel has seen multiple escalations in recent years with devastating consequences. In 2014, the abduction and killing of 3 Israeli teenagers triggered Operation Protective Edge, a 7-week war that left Gaza in ruins, with over 2,200 Palestinians and 73 Israelis dead. Tensions flared again in 2021 when clashes in East Jerusalem, particularly in Sheikh Jarrah, led to another round of violence. Hamas launched rockets at Israeli cities, prompting Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. The conflict lasted 11 days, resulting in significant destruction and the deaths of over 250 Palestinians and 13 Israelis. In 2023, renewed tensions over Al-Aqsa Mosque and Israeli settlement expansion sparked further rocket attacks from Hamas, with Israel responding with airstrikes. The situation in 2024 worsened as Gaza endured even greater devastation, with residential areas, schools and hospitals heavily damaged, leaving thousands displaced and deepening the ongoing humanitarian crisis. Contemporary challenges and potential solutions. At the heart of today's conflict are several unresolved issues. Jerusalem's status. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim Jerusalem as their capital, though Israel controls the city. The relocation of the US Embassy to Jerusalem in 2018 further fueled tensions. Gaza's humanitarian crisis. The blockade of Gaza has created a dire situation for its residents, with limited access to clean water, healthcare, and economic opportunities. Settlement expansion. Israeli settlements in the West Bank continue to grow, making a two-state solution more difficult. While a two-state solution remains the most widely supported option internationally, it faces significant challenges due to ongoing violence, settlement expansion, and political instability. Some have suggested a one-state solution, but this idea is also fraught with difficulties, particularly regarding national identity and demographic concerns. The Israel-Palestine conflict remains deeply complex, marked by historical grievances and ongoing violence. Despite numerous attempts at peace, achieving lasting resolution continues to be a significant challenge for both sides. Thank you for watching. If you found this insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on global issues.